Welcome back to News Junkies. I'm Bill DeFoi. Joining me right now is Michele Wilson, and she is with Premier Solutions. And Michele is now a regular on News Junkies, and today we're going to be talking about small businesses and why they fail. And Michele, always a delight to have you here.
It's always a pleasure to be here and also an honor. Thank you.
Well, Michele, I tell you what, you come up with some of the best topics, and today, in today's economy, there are a lot of businesses that fail. Why?
You know, I work with a lot of small businesses, and there's a statistic out there that 9 out of 10 businesses fail. And to prepare for this segment, you know, I really did a Google search, some research to see what is the true number, and what I found that no one really knows. However, the U.S. Statistics Bureau had said, you know what, really 66% of business owners do make it in the first year, the first 2 years. So, you know, it's kind of a high percentage, but the other day I was driving around and I noticed one of our businesses that I had went to a ribbon cutting recently is closed. So I still think the statistics are still high.
You have put together, we're going to do kind of like a Dave Letterman top 5 list, not a top 10,
Okay.
but a top 5 list of reasons why businesses fail. So give us your best shot, the top 5 reasons why businesses fail.
I believe the top 5 is limited access to resources, poor management, poor financial management, failure to actually get good advice, and lack of planning.
How can these obstacles be overcome?
You know, let's start with lack of planning. You know, I really believe small businesses owners should have a business plan, and it's amazing. Business owners, when they start a business, they're very good at their craft. However, they don't know enough about how to run and grow a business. So I really believe it's kind of like a GPS system. If you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get there? You know, you wouldn't, take a trip to Chicago without having a GPS system. So I really believe, to start off with a plan, a business plan.
Well, that would be a very obvious reason or a solution to a lot of dilemmas, because if there's not a clear-cut path, as it were, to achieve objectives, then you haven't defined the objectives that you wanted to achieve.
You're right, and you would think that someone who's starting a business would think of that, but I guess they're so excited and so passionate about their whatever they want to bring to market that they just didn't think that through. That the business plan is an essential and very simplistic, part of that.
Well, one of the things that you had mentioned was finances, and I suspect, now I'm not a business owner, but I suspect that a lot of people go into business, but they don't have enough funding. They're undercapitalized as opposed to being overcapitalized. True or false?
That's very true, and that's why I say, you really want to work with a CPA or accountant, because one, you want your money to last, right? Especially if you're undercapitalized. So I really think you need to work with a professional and help you with those management skills.
So the other top 5, could you explain a little bit more on the other 3 areas?
Another area I kind of mentioned, like the accountant, is just really obtaining financial professionals. A lot of people think they don't have enough money because they're undercapitalized. But if you never ran a business, you may want to have a business consultant to help you. You definitely would want an attorney to help you. And also going back to just the business plan, you really want to understand your vision, your mission, what's your target market. So you want to work with professionals that can help you guide you through the way.
One of the organizations that comes to mind, and you didn't bring this up, but I'm going to, the Service Corps of Retired Executives, or SCORE. How important can they be in looking at business and the success or failure thereof?
SCORE is a great organization, especially for small business owners that don't have a lot of cash, because they work with retired professionals that are really expert in their field, and they have sometimes nominal fees, they have workshops, and you actually work with a mentor. So that's a great organization to seek out, to work with.
Now, people go into business typically, at least in my judgment, because they have a passion about perhaps a product, a service, some kind of area of expertise. Can that be beneficial or a detriment to a business?
I think it's very beneficial because if you're passionate and love what you do, you're going to stick with it. The only detriment is, like I said, is just the lack of planning. You know, how are you going to bring that to market? It's more than passion. You know, a lot of times you have to deal with compliance issues, tax issues, just all type of issues. So you need to know and be aware with those issues. There's one thing I like to say, you know, ignorance, you know, is not a excuse for a defense, because one thing about being a small business owner is liability and being liable for, you know, for those things. So you really want to know what your rights are.
So I would imagine that proficiency plays a huge role into the success or the failure of the business.
Absolutely. You need in all areas, from the top to the bottom, you definitely need some type of system to be successful.
So advice, expert advice,
Exactly.
is paramount to the success of a business.
I believe so, because if you don't have the expert advice, you're going to make, you know, costly mistakes. And as I went back to the GPS system, you're going to be going down all these different roads and not getting to where you want. You know, a professional has been there and knows how to do it for you, and I just think it's going to cost you. I mean, you may think the cost in the beginning is expensive, but in the long run, it's going to cost you more if you don't get the advice.
Now, we've been talking a lot in terms, general terms, about maybe sole proprietorship. What about those individuals that want to go in partnership with a friend, a next door neighbor, a relative, and they want to go in and form this company and hopefully make lots of money?
Well, with that, you definitely want to get an attorney involved, because you may be friends and, you know, you may think your word is golden, but things happen. You know, what if this company grows? You know, then you don't see eye to eye, or what if, you know, something happens to one of the owners? So, you know, not only do you need a plan, you need a succession plan. So you definitely want to get an attorney involved, because you want to have the proper contracts involved, because if something happens, you may have to go to court. So that's really an important thing you need in starting a business with partnerships.
And probably even more important, you know, than anything is if you go into business with your spouse.
Exactly. Going in with your spouse. I mean, unfortunately, we're in an age that divorce happens, you know. And I heard a statistic, there's 50% are single people out there. So even going into, it's a business partnership. You actually should have business and personal separate. And so I would still, you know, seek the advice of an attorney, because you just don't know.
Well, to summarize, make sure that you have a proficiency, have a passion,
Yes.
be well endowed financially, that you can make sure that the business can sustain itself even during some lean times, and get the proper advice going in.
Absolutely. And even if you don't have the money, you can, there's ways to get money too. You know, you can fundraise, money, they call it crowdfunding now, but you know, you can actually go to the bank to get money. So there's other ways you can get money, but still I would say seek the advice before you take that route.
Well, I know that we're working with a couple of individuals that are going for the group funding for a project, and it's a movie project that they're going to be doing. And so that's one way that they're going to help to secure their financing to get their project started. So any last words of wisdom or advice that you can give to us?
You know, I always say when you're starting a business, or even when you're in business, you want to have basically, I say, a board of advisors. And as we kind of went through it today, but you know, you want to make sure you have a good CPA accountant, an attorney. You may even want to have a business consultant, even a good insurance person. That's the foundation of your business. So you definitely want that in place. And I always say personal development, you know, you want to read 10 pages of a good book a day, because being a business owner or entrepreneur, it takes a specific mindset. So you want to keep feeding the mind with positive information.
And there's a whole different issue when it comes to hiring employees, because there's health benefits, retirement benefits, pay It's like opening up a Pandora's box in my mind.
Absolutely, and that's what's creating liability or risk to the company. So that's why you want to have an attorney involved to be able to help you with employee handbooks. Then you want the CPAs to talk about your tax ramifications. So that's why I say those are your key advisory members you want of your board. I mean, big corporations, the reason why they survive is because they have the resources. I mean, small businesses and big businesses have the same issue. The only difference is that big businesses have access and small businesses don't.
For people that want more information about what you do and how you service clients, it's Premier Solutions. Give us your telephone number.
It's 805-304-5088.
Wonderful. And a website.
My website is Premier Solutions, and that's INTL, so it's premiersolutionsinternational.com.
Thank you very much, Michele. She's going to be joining us for another segment of News Junkies, and we're going to be talking about identity theft in the workplace. That's coming up next. Stay with us right here on News Junkies, a production of the Heritage Media Group. And welcome back to News Junkies. I'm Bill DeFoi. Joining me once again is Michele Wilson with Premier Solutions. And today we're going to be talking about identity theft in the workplace. And Michele, always a joy to have you with us.
It's always a pleasure to be here and an honor, Bill.
Well, thank you so much. Identity theft in the workplace. How bad is the problem?
I think it's really bad. I mean, every day you hear something in the news. Some big corporation or companies had a data breach. Someone has identity theft. I believe it's really not going away. There's a statistic out there that 70% of identity theft occurs legal issues, and I believe it's in the billions of dollars, the loss that we've had just with identity theft alone. Actually, it's the #1 complaint in the last 14 years with the consumers.
Well, in the news recently, you've heard about data breaches and identity theft with major corporations, credit cards and personal cards that the clients might have or the customers, as well as data breaches with the U.S. government and people trying to get security clearances and those that already have that top level security going on. What are the differences between the two?
Well, the difference between the two, a data breach occurs in the company or the organization or even the government, and that's really, they just lost the employees' information, such as their social security number, their name, their address. Believe it or not, criminals want the information. That's more valuable than a credit card because they can sell it on the black market. And different ways that companies lose it. Someone takes a laptop home and has their whole database of all the employees or even their customers, and they lose it. People have the thumb drives with information. Even if an employee, actually this happened recently, I got this email, I'm like, I don't think this is for the right person, but an employee can send out an email, attach some personal information that belongs to someone else, and it goes out to someone else. So that's the different way. That's a data breach. It's just the information that is supposed to be private gets lost.
And with today's technology, I know that there's a lot of security that goes into passing things along on the internet, but the internet is perhaps not as secure as we would like and are led to believe.
I believe so. I mean, going back to the news, you hear that, these major corporations, I'm sure, put millions and thousands of dollars, yet, I mean, like even the government, they're breached. So we believe that we're safe, but identity theft is an issue that we cannot prevent because we're in all these databases. So the best thing to do is to protect yourself, have a plan just to protect yourself, because it's not, if it's going to get lost, I mean, I can't tell you how many letters I've got in the mail that my information's been breached this year. So it's not if, it's just really when.
Well, exactly. Now, what steps can employers and employees both take, as well as, individuals? And I say that knowing that the employees are individuals too, but what can people do as a whole would probably be the better question to protect themselves against corporate identity theft or government identity theft or data breaches?
The FTC says, companies should really make this a priority, that identity theft is a serious matter. And then really have a plan in place, because with identity theft, a company can be held liable. The information, there's about 44 different state laws out there. And, if you lost, let's say you had a database of, 200,000 names and you lost all those names, some companies can be liable up to $2,500 for each name. So it's a serious matter. And what they can do is just really have a plan. As I said earlier, identity theft is not going away, but if there's some kind of plan that you took the measures to secure it, that could be enough. You may want to have a security manager that monitors the identity theft, and then education, just educating your employees. Employees can take information not really realizing how valuable it is, so it's just really having some educational workshops for the employees.
What percentage of identity theft takes place in the workplace?
50% takes place.
Wow, that's awfully high.
Yeah, it's really high, and a lot has to do sometimes with disgruntled, employees and just mismanagement. They just don't really understand how valuable the information is.
So it's a matter of the employers educating employees and the employers getting an education from maybe a mentoring group or some entity that would provide some guidance as to how to minimize the loss.
Absolutely. You can have, people come in, individuals come in and do a workshop for the employees. Another day we were talking about just a little bit earlier, even to protect the employees' information, there's actually employee benefits against identity theft, because like I said, it's not going to go away. It's kind of just when. So yeah, just having some type of workshop or informational, and saying that they went through it, that could be enough. That would be actually part of your plan, that your employees had gone through this workshop, and that would be enough.
Now, can you identify, and we're going to do a kind of like a David Letterman top 10 list, but we're going to confine it to the top 5. But can you identify the top 5 reasons or the top 5 types of identity theft that are out there?
Absolutely. 17% we heard is financial, and that's like credit cards and bank accounts, people taking money out of your account. But the other one, the fastest growing, is medical identity theft. The thieves want your medical information. They will take it to get services, services at hospitals, and even just taking that information and selling it. And then criminal is actually another type of identity theft. And it's kind of went blank.
No, that's fine. You mentioned medical.
Yes.
As being one of the top 5. A lot of medical offices now are going to, the electronic record keeping, as opposed to the doctor at the end of the day goes through all of his notes and summarizes them and puts them into the patient's files and all of that. I mean, even my own doctor will walk into the office with a laptop and start entering in data.
Yes, and even when you're signing your signature, it's scanned into the computer. So if your employee has access to that laptop or that information and take it home, I've known, actually my son was a victim. I was told that someone had his information on a laptop at the home. So yes, medical is definitely the fastest growing. Even though they say it's Privacy Act and that your information is private, it's really educating your employees how to handle that information is key.
Very good. Well, we're out of time. So Michele, why don't you give us a telephone number and a website where people can contact you to get more information?
It's 805-304-5088. And the website is Premier Solutions International. The international is intl.com, and that's how you can reach me.
Excellent. Michele Wilson, always a joy and a pleasure to have you with us, and I look forward to having you back with us again real soon.
Thank you so much.
And I'm Bill DeFoi. Thank you for joining us. Stay with us for more News Junkies right here. And this is a production of the Heritage Media Group.